This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutastrophe, welcoming you to another sports catastrophe on this date. And on this day, April the 12th, 1965, the first ever Houston Astros regular season game was played at the Astrodome. You probably thought it was like the first Astros game ever, home game ever. Nope, but at the spacious Astrodome, what they called the eighth wonder of the world. It was like, no wonder. Anyway, Houston back in 1960 ended up getting a expansion baseball team to start in 1962. So they played. They played in Houston. They were the Colt 45s after the gun, and then they changed to Astros, I guess, because of the gun violence, and also the fact that Houston played outdoors at what they called Colt Stadium. The only problem is that Colt Stadium was a haven for mosquitoes. And Houston had a subtropical climate and hot summers because game time temperatures were above 36 Celsius or 97 Fahrenheit by July and August, and with a likelihood of rain. So Hopkins, the mayor of Houston and the man who brought the Astros into play, says that he would do too much and all that. So the Astrodome was huge and all that. It would be known for its large scoreboard called the Astrolite and all that. The cost was $2.1 million to team up to have the first animated scoreboard. Now, $2.1 million may sound like peanuts nowadays, but remember, this is the 1960s. So the dome was actually completed ahead of schedule by November 1964, so they could start by April 65. So, of course, the official opening day was April 9, 1965. Well, it was an exhibition game and all that. Of course, it was opening night against the Phillies, so the Phillies were ready to go. Phillies and Astros, the first game of the 1965 season. And in short, I'm making a pun, the Phillies won the game 2-0. Houston only got 4 hits. Of course, why I'm making it a pun is because the winning pitcher for the Phillies was Chris Short. So the lineups were Philly had Tony Taylor, Dick Allen, Jody Gellison, Wes Covington, Tony Gonzalez, not the tight end, Dick Stewart, Clay Zimperl, Ruben Amaro, and Chris Short. The Astros starting lineup was Bob Lillis, Joe Morgan, yes, that Joe Morgan, Jimmy Wynn, Walt Bond, Bob Aspromonte, Jim Beauchamp, Joe Gaines, Johnny Bateman, who would later go on to be an Expo legend, and Bob Bruce. So yeah, the Phillies won 2-0. It was a complete disaster. Well, Dick Allen in the third inning hit the first home run in Astrodome's history with a 2-run shot. So the Phillies beat the Astros. What was huge about it is, of course, the whole thing to do with the grass and all that. They would have grass. It would be a dome with panels to, brighten up the grass and make the grass grow and all that. Unfortunately, the grass would die because of the searing sun from the heat panels, and people lost the ball in the sun, obviously. So by 1966, they decided to get rid of those panels, paint them over so that fielders can see the ball better, and also to install AstroTurf, making it the first artificial playing surface in Major League Baseball history. People complained because, it's not natural. It's ruining baseball and all that. Now, the Astros were not a super team by any stretch in the 60s and 70s. They were decent and all that. They made that dumb move trading Joe Morgan to Cincy for what was it, Lee May? And it ended up being a big mistake. I can't remember the trade, but, that's still there. Anyhow, so The Astrodome would also be home to many events. They did football because the NFL team, the Houston Oilers, were around. Well, the AFL Houston Oilers at the time moved from Jefferson Stadium to the Astrodome to play their games, and the Oilers did decently at the Astrodome in their lifespan before moving to Tennessee. Uh, there was concerts. There was the famous Battle of the Sexes tennis match between Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King played at the Astrodome. There was college football with the Cougars. There was college basketball even had a famous game between UCLA and Houston, playing that with a young Dick Enberg calling the game for TV Sports, and all that shit. But you got to remember that, you know, it was big. The Houston Livestock Show and all that. There was even a national convention for the Republican Party, I think it was. One of the parties. Yeah, the Republican National Convention was held in August, which meant that Houston had to take a month-long road trip and all that. So that was huge and all that for the University of Houston and all that. So it was just amazing what could happen with things. So anyway, the Astrodome was getting old and decrepit. But the weird thing is the Astros were doing decently. Like in the 80s, they had a few playoff series. Remember the classic games in the NLCS in 1980 between the Phillies and Astros? That like Game 5 was an instant classic. 1986, Game 6 of the NLCS between the Astros and Mets, that was an instant classic at the Astrodome. The Astros were coming along, but they just couldn't get over that hump. Of course, the playing field was dilapidated, and there was a preseason game between Houston and San Diego that had to be canceled because of that. Oilers owner Bud Adams demanded a new stadium, but the city of Houston couldn't fund it. So Adams moved the team to Nashville, the NFL team to Nashville, and the Astros decided to threaten to leave the city unless a new ballpark was built. So they did. So the city of Houston gave them the retractable roof Enron, / Minute Maid Park for the 2000 season. It was just amazing and all that. Selena, the Tejano superstar, made a concert and 66,000 fans came to see her. Unfortunately, though, she would be fatally shot a month later. The Astrodome hosted WrestleMania 17, considered by many one of the greatest, if not the greatest, WrestleMania of all time. I might agree with that. Although WrestleMania 18 in my backyard of Toronto was much better. Some way. Well, WrestleMania 17 had some great matches. I mean, the Gimmick Battle Royal was not really the best fit, especially with Stone Cold versus The Rock. But still, that's it. The Astrodome would be joined by Reliant Stadium, well, now called NRG Stadium, the retractable roof stadium, which was actually close by. And all that. The Astrodomes didn't have any major tenants because the Houston Livestock Show moved to the Reliant Stadium. So, yeah. And then, Hurricane Katrina happened, and 25 evacuees from New Orleans would go to Houston and move to the Astrodome until they can return home and all that. So, yeah. So, that was the whole thing. Originally, the Astrodome was planned to be used to house evacuations till December. But they had to move them out because of the Houston Texas' home game, and the surrounding parking lots needed to be used. They would relocate the Katrina evacuees to Arkansas. Anyway, so yeah, there were lots of code violations and all that. So anyway, Since then, only maintenance workers and security guards have been allowed to enter the stadium while it was brought to code. There were rumors that there would be a chance for redevelopment because Houston wanted to redevelop it. They wanted to host the 2012 Summer Olympics, but their bid got rejected by the U.S. Olympic Committee, who wanted New York City to be his candidate city. There were rumors that it was going to be a luxury hotel, rejected. A movie production studio, rejected. Yeah, basically, there's occupancy code violations that were huge and all that. So they don't know what they're going to do with it. That's the problem. So too, there are no new plans for the Astrodome. Say, baseball, that thing. Lindsey Nelson actually, the Mets broadcaster, actually broadcast a game perched in a gondola suspended from the roof above second base. Kind of scary, huh? It was, of course, 1980 and all that. So anyway, yeah, they would be playing a lot of key games and all that. The Astros would move out of the Astrodome in 1999 after losing the playoff round to the Braves and all that. Oh, the Astrodome hosted the 1989 All-Star Game. I did not know that. Okay. That's kind of cool. And yeah, the game century between Houston and UCLA, January 1968. Tennis, the Battle of the Sexes, of course. Yeah, WrestleMania 17. Yep. It was great. The Edge and Christian TLC match. Lots of concerts, motorsports, and popular culture. It was huge and all that. It was part of the movie Bad News Bears and Breaking Training, where they were supposed to play a exhibition game with the Houston Toros, but then the adults decided to postpone that thing, saying it interfered with the Astros game. Yeah, and the Astrodome is a playable field on both MVP Baseball 2005 and All-Star Baseball 2005. So I just wish that MLB The Show would do more retro stadiums and all that. You can't just go with Shibe Park and Polo Grounds all the time. I would have loved to see all that. So anyway, yeah, that scoreboard was amazing. The first animated scoreboard in 1969 was built. Well, sorry, 1965. It was intact till 1988 when Bud Adams wanted it removed to accommodate increased capacity for football, baseball, and all that. So, yeah, so the 15,000 new seats made it 60,000 for football. But yeah, that stadium should never have been, that score should not have been taken out, or you should have just moved it and all that. But whatever. So the Astrodome is still an iconic stadium. And I'm not going to do.